Okay, we'll start all over again. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is July 22nd. This is the Public Works Procurement and Contracting. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Germana.
Here?
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Greenspan.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent. There is a quorum.
Okay, public comment related to the agenda.
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Okay, we have the minutes of July 8th. Any additions or corrections? I move approval. Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, minutes stand approved. Matter is referred to committee.
Resolution number 2015-0136, a resolution authorizing a contract with Great Lakes Petroleum Company in the amount not to exceed $759,000 for middle distillates for various county facilities for the period 8/1/2015 through 7/31/2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Good morning.
Good morning. Don Jarrell from Public Works. We wish to enter this contract with Great Lakes Petroleum. It was a lower than state contract offer that they made through the procurement process. It was published and they came in lower than state contract. We have calculated the number of gallons that we use through our in-ground tanks at the sanitary and York Road maintenance facilities, at the county airport, and a couple of the above-ground diesel generator tanks used at certain buildings in the county. And we did our best to calculate the going rate to come up with a dollar amount. Basically, this is the fuel for the maintenance fleet. And if there's any questions that I might be able to help out on, I'd be happy to answer.
So so this really did not go out to bid, is that correct?
No, previously we used to bid the fuel, and when we closed down 3 of the operations that formerly held fuel, our consumption dropped by 60%. And we were in communications with a couple of the vendors to see what they would do on the pricing. And basically they were all, with the quantity dropping by 60% over our previous one, they all were indicating that our delivered price would be much higher than it had been quoted in the past. They take the OPIS, which is the Oil Petroleum Information System, and they add a percentage or a per gallon figure. Could be a few cents, it could be up to 25-30 cents per gallon. At the time, we made an in-house suggestion and discussed it with a number of the other people, and we decided we should attempt to go with the state contractor who had a fixed price through June of next year. We followed the procedures, and through the Department of Procurement, it was published, our intent, and Great Lakes Petroleum came in at a lesser than state contract price through the end of the state contract. At that point, we felt that was in our best interest. They were our current supplier. We've had a good relationship with them over the past 10, 12 years that they've on and off won the bid, so we felt this was the best interest for the county.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Yes, go ahead, Ms. Conwell.
Through the chair, you talked about it was a competitive bid process, but in the legislation, it's saying this is the procurement method is exempt from competitive bid requirement.
Right. We felt that the competitive bidding would not meet the state contract, nor this one here, which was less than state contract. Because of our drop in consumption, we went from nearly 500,000 gallons. We were dropping down to around little over 200,000 gallons that we would require. And everyone that we had spoke with, they were all indicating that the price would be add on almost to the price that we would pay at the gas pumps at regular fueling stations rather than the discounted prices that we would obtain through the having to get fuel delivered to our tanks.
Second question, how often do we do this contract? I only remember it coming before us once.
Okay, we tried to do the contract for 2 years, but since this was tied to the state contract, that's why it's going to end next year. So next spring, we will either go out for bid or consider using the state contract and see if we get a lower than state opportunity.
Okay, and you, a third question, final question, you stated that our consumption dropped. Why is that? I
Well,
mean, that's a good thing, but,
Well, consumption of the in-ground fueling, when we closed the 18th Street facility, that was a major portion of the fuel that was used by all the fleet in the downtown area, whether it be the sheriff's department, the trades from the facilities group of Public Works, a number of the other organizations like Women's and Children's and people who have vehicles on the road, all filled up at the 18th Street facility. When that was closed and sold, we lost the opportunity to have a fuel tank there. So those people had to move out and they're buying fuel at regular gas stations now because of the inconvenience factor of them driving either to the Valley View or to North Royalton to fuel up.
thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Was there an exemption for alternative procurement method passed by the Board of Control on this contract?
Yes, it was. I'm sorry I didn't bring that copy with me, but it was passed during the month of June. I think I want to say the first or second meeting in June.
Okay. And second question, is there, obviously, if 60% of the fuel is being purchased at the gas pump at regular prices, that's costing us more money.
Yes, that is correct, but we are in the process of negotiating a new deal with RTA. I hope I'm not speaking in advance, but we have been negotiating with them so that we can buy the fuel at one of their sites, in which case it'll go back down. They'll just add a token charge on to their per gallon price. So they are buying their fuel the same as we are at a highly discounted price. It averages about 27 to 29 cents less than the per pump price per gallon. At that point, if we have this contract resolved with them, a goodly portion of the people who are now fueling at gas stations will be going over to RTA to fuel up their cars, in which case our savings should be at minimum 25 cents a gallon.
And since people are out in the field on the road, would we have any way to ensure that they go where they're supposed to go, fuel up, as opposed to just going to the gas pump? How do we control that?
Whenever anybody fuels up, whether it's at the gas station or at one of the county sites, there is a report generated, in which case we know which car fueled, which operator. We have their odometer reading so we can check the mileage to make certain that it's matches up with what we would expect for that vehicle. If they're buying it at the gas station, their cards, the BP cards, are only allowed for fuels and lubricants. You can't buy pop, you can't buy water. Even if they needed a headlight, they would not be able to buy it. They can only buy fuel or lubricants to keep the car safe and able to do their rounds or take it to the fleet operations for repairs.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Greenspan, do you have a question?
I do, thank you. selling the facility on 18th Street, can you, I don't recall that transaction. Can you refresh our memories on that?
It was referred to as a Hamilton garage. That was part of the property consolidation. So when it went out of there, and then this has kind of been in the works as this stuff was going on, we've been trying to figure out ways to go out and, you know, now that that's not there, to look at ways to,
Oh, that's fine. Now that I remember the Hamilton
Okay.
garage, I just didn't remember this. I don't remember the fueling component ever being discussed because I believe, as my colleagues have addressed, there are subsequent issues. So we may have sold that property, but now we have possibly incurred additional costs because our folks are filling up at retail versus below. I'm assuming
but I think
wholesale.
the intent was always to go back and then figure out ways to then go ahead and,
I know, but this is the cart before the horse situation. We're going to sell it, then we'll figure out how to.
well,
I wonder how much money we've lost, excluding the profit on the sale of the building by refueling this way.
there was also, we can get more into that if you like, but also there was we had two maintenance facilities, the Hamilton garage, some maintenance work was done, as well as Brook Park. So the intent was to consolidate all the maintenance work under one direction, so you didn't split your labor force.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I see that, and also we got rid of the facility in Olmsted Township. So I get all the
Oh, okay.
consolidation of those facilities. My comments are specifically related to fuel costs.
Gotcha.
So obviously we were buying wholesale and basically just fueling our own vehicles. Now we're paying, a number of our folks are paying retail, and we're paying retail because they're buying at the pump. I'm curious what the analysis is of, and I'm not even sure it's attainable. How much more are we paying now for fuel at the pump versus we're paying wholesale?
It would be a task we could address. I mean, we do have all the records, but I think at the time, you know, we've been stressing conservation all along. And I think we are really using a little less now in the way of fuel
Well, let me ask you this.
per gallon. Yeah, I mean gallonage. And it's because, you know, people, that was an easy, you know, fill there. Now it's a little more inconvenient, and they're, you know, just out of trying to adapt their new style. You know, they're being a little more conservative in how they're driving and you know, the tasks that they're performing.
Possibly. So I'm not discounting what you're saying, but that's a behavioral issue, which is a little different. So we were at 500,000 gallons, and now we're spending, and now we're using 200,000.
We're gonna go in at about 240,000.
Okay, so it's about a 200, just say half.
Correct.
So just around 250,000 gallons less. What is our wholesale cost what's our wholesale cost per gallon?
Well, the most recent one, we paid $2.27 for a gallon of diesel, which at the pump right now, I think last night I saw it for like $2.80.
Okay.
Now, diesel fluctuates far greater than unleaded. The majority of our diesel fuel is for the maintenance fleet. I would say probably 95%. So they're filling up at the Valley View and North Royalton locations. So there is no change there. The big change was in the unleaded fuel. And that one, the most recent check that I had on that was at 22 cents a gallon. So if we said 200,000 gallons or so at 22 cents, that might be a number that we could, be a ballpark that we'd have to prove out, or
About 44, just say $40,000 a year in increased fuel costs. Are you noticing then at those other facilities increasing usage on the diesel fleet? I would anticipate so.
No, the diesel fleet has been pretty status quo, because, you know, those are the two yards that we house almost all the diesel trucks.
So the diesel at the old Hamilton facility was
There
not an
was
issue.
there was no
There
diesel
was no
tank.
diesel. Okay, so it's all unleaded at the Hamilton.
Correct,
And it's about a
yes.
$40,000 additional cost for, based on the consumption,
Right, but
because they have to go somewhere else.
right, that is why we were in the process, we had talked with the city of Cleveland, possibly fueling at Joseph Stamps on the marginal. We've talked with RTA fueling at one of their locations, and it's an ongoing, task right now.
And how long have we been doing this? How long have when did we stop fueling at the Hamilton garage facility?
I wanna say the end of September last year, so we're about 9 months into it.
Okay, and what's the delay, whether Cleveland or RTA, in getting an agreement in place?
That I can't say. I have not participated in the negotiations. I've supplied numbers, information, but the task is being done at, between the law departments of both organizations and, I guess, some of Mr. Devers been involved.
I think it just takes time to negotiate those, how they're gonna do them, how they're gonna set up, making sure that their systems can draw down our numbers and stuff like that. So,
And are we able to, I'm sure that other communities,
That's exactly where I was going.
and I'm thinking of collaboration, I'm sure there are other communities in the county that could benefit. Could they benefit from our purchasing power? Could we purchase fuel and park it in their tanks and use it? And
I think that would be a lot depending on how each city is structured. Some of them might have gas tanks, some might not.
Okay.
So if a community has an older service center that has an upgraded tank in their maintenance area, that would be an option, but I'm just wondering how many still have them, because a lot of the changes with the EPA regulations on storage tank facilities, they have to upgrade them. You can't have the old metal ones. They need to be, so that would be a question that we could reach out to everybody, but I'm sure there could be some. I don't know how much it would be though.
okay, and then my last question, on the Hamilton garage, what did we sell that facility for?
We can get you that. I don't have that. I don't
Yeah,
recall that.
I'm
no.
curious of what our purchase price was versus our sales
Okay.
price.
Get you that
So I want to see what our net profit. I'm assuming there's a profit
Yeah.
on that facility. Okay, thank you.
If I can answer one on the previous question about joining in with other communities, most of them have fixed-size fuel tanks, and they had them, when they purchased them and installed them, it was based on their own fleet. If we were to send some of our vehicles to them to fuel up, whether we would be accommodating them, the price may not be that much difference, maybe a penny or two a gallon, but the number of times it would have to be fueled, and the work that would be required, additional inspections, I think that is part of why we have been so slow with the moving with the RTA or the city of Cleveland as being a joint partner in the fueling process.
Okay, well, so a comment is kind of giddy up on getting these agreements done. We're losing money. So my concern is the profit we've made on this garage is being eroded by increased fuel costs. All right, thank you.
Mr. Greenspan, that's exactly where I was going. I think more important than worrying about what's already done, I'm just wondering, if we're talking about collaborating with RTA, I'm just wondering what all these municipalities are doing. Now, I'm sure some of the bigger ones may have their own gas tanks, but every one of them has got building inspectors. They've got police cars that are running 24 hours a day, and so on and so forth. Maybe this gives us an opportunity to go out and get a master contract for at the pump, and almost to the point of if there would be significant savings in doing that, maybe we could set up accounts similar to what we do with the sanitary engineer. Stan?
One of the things too is we're going through this basically very close to the state bid process. Each community would have that opportunity, Don, also. So what you're saying is if a community does have a tank, they would be able to go through that state bid process to also get some of the discounted rates too. So, you know, is there a way to get accumulated savings? There might be, but I'm going to guess right now, as I'm thinking about the question that was first posed, any of the communities that have their gas, whether they have a diesel tank or an unleaded tank, you know, if they have that, I bet you that we could try to find out, but I'm assuming that they're probably reaching out through the state contract too, because I know a lot of the communities do use those, so. It's something as we go through this, we can reach out to the communities as we have discussions with them and see if there's any benefit.
I'm just wondering, you know, the state, it's a big state, there's a lot of rural situations, mostly rural situations. I'm just wondering, because we have big numbers, we've got density, I'm just wondering if Geiger County could get a better contract at the pump, not only in the ground, but at the pump, than the state contract, because delivering to all these rural counties and so on and so forth, and there's only so many gas stations and so much consumption. I mean, we're the most populous. What would it take to do a study on the possibility of having
Let me reach out to the director and run this by him and see if there's a way we can either through maybe the Service Directors Association, reach out to them and find out how they, maybe a survey through them and seeing how they're purchasing the gas and if there's any benefits to some type of group.
Did it already.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
I mean, because instead of worrying about the real estate transaction, that's done.
Okay,
Let's you know, we could figure out how much it cost us, but it's done. Okay, let's use this as opportunity.
Don might have an answer for you.
Don?
last fall, in anticipation of moving ahead on whether we're gonna go out for bid or utilize the state contract, I had contacted 6 different counties to see what their process was. Only one county, I believe it was what's Toledo?
Lucas.
Okay, they were the only ones that was bidding out their fuel. Everyone else I spoke with was utilizing state contract, or they were just buying through the fuel at the pump. Some of the smaller ones, like Lake County, which was one of them that I contacted, their consumption was not that great, so they had to just go to the corner gas station and fuel up. Each person had their own card. But the majority of them were using the state contract, and it's just like purchasing the salt. When ODOT puts out a bid, they make it inclusive for any municipality within the state. When the state Office of Procurement purchases fuel, it's the same thing. It's a cooperative contract that any municipality can use. Now, per our county policies and procedures, if we indicate we are going to use a state contract, it's posted on the county's website, and anybody has the opportunity to meet or beat the price. And that was the case. Great Lakes, who was our current provider, came in and they reduced it by the 3rd decimal point to, be better than the state contract. So we really did a lot of research, and joining forces with the other communities, I think a lot of them, they're satisfied with the state contract, where the state is, making an overture instead of us looking to buy 500,000 gallons as we had in the past, or 250,000 now, plus maybe another 300,000 or 400,000 for neighboring communities. The state's looking to buy millions of gallons, so they're going to get the best possible price.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and, I thank you for your research. I still think that because of the density of Cuyahoga County and all the different governmental vehicles that are being used, whether we get it out of the ground or at the pump, there might be some really economies, because I think, I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking that regionally, we may be able to do better than the state price, and every municipality should, have that opportunity to tack on and save money. It's collaboration. If we can do it, I think we should at least investigate it. And if you come back and say that it doesn't work that way, then I'll accept it. But I think we should look at it.
All right, what I'll do is I'll work with the director, and then I think probably the Service Directors Association will probably be the best group to deal with, because they deal with a lot of the maintenance facilities and such like that. So I'll work with Mike to reach out to them and see how they do it, and if there's any interest, and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just kind of an related subject to that on salt as an example, and I don't know how many folks are aware of this, but the state bid salt is with Morton out of Ashtabula. But Cargill's right here. So all of our cities buy on state bid. They're actually getting the salt not out of Cuyahoga County. They're getting out of Ashtabula, except North Olmsted, because Cargill's headquartered in North Olmsted. So they've done their own deal. But just as an aside, keeping business in the county, that's a prime example of where we're,
Last year,
Yeah.
we left the state ODOT community to join a number of municipalities. I think Brecksville is the lead group in the local consortium, and we got our salt through Cargill.
from Cargill, good.
Right.
And we were able to have a guaranteed delivery of within 48 hours of placing the order, whereas with Morton, it was 5 days. So during snowstorm situations, when you need salt, you can't be waiting.
Right. Could you pull your trucks up to Cargill? Could the county pull its trucks up, or is it delivered?
No,
all
they
the way?
they deliver.
Okay.
But the delivery, every time I call them, I say, if you don't stop at us first, we're gonna put a roadblock on the street. Because every truck drives past our salt.
So, are you from New Jersey?
Okay, Ms. Conwell.
Through the chair, just wanted to follow up on who is in charge of the monitoring the gas consumption by employees, and how often are they monitored?
Oh, in the past, each month when the reports were generated, they were sent out to each agency for their review. And it's part of the space maintenance in the past for all of the other agencies. Within the sanitary, the road and bridge, the airport, I was pretty much the person. I evaluated everything and consulted with our fleet operation if I felt something was, out of place.
Are they, and so that's been going on for about 9 months?
Oh, this has been going on.
Buying at the pumps?
Oh, buying at the pumps, yeah,
Pumps, yeah.
that's, there has been a small number that have been buying at the pumps for many years. They've had their BP cards. The county has had a relationship with BP for many years. And we do get a rebate on the fuel purchases. And
But we use other gas stations, right?
right now, we're using BP, and there's 2 Sunoco stations that we use that are adjacent to county buildings, and it just made sense.
And so they buy on a card?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see this is an August 1st contract, so I'll make a motion to refer this to the full council under second reading suspension.
Second.
Okay, any last questions on this? All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 137.
Resolution number 2015-0137, a resolution declaring that public convenience and welfare requires resurfacing of Files Road from the West Corporation Line to Pearl Road in the city of Middleburg Heights. Total estimated project cost $1,200,000. Finding that special assessments will neither be levied nor collected to pay for any part of the county's cost of said improvement, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Good
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Jamal Hussaini with Public Works. This is resurfacing of Fowles Road. It's 1.4 miles. The average daily traffic is about 13,000 cars. The condition is fair to poor. The construction cost is 1.2 million. We're paying 600,000, and the city of Middleburg Heights is paying 600,000. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
I'm just wondering why we have this split we're not using. It seems like, you know, a lot of these other things that most of the cities are only paying 20%.
Sure. This is what we used to call our 50-50 program. And if you recall, County Council passed a program where we pay 100% of the cost.
Correct.
Well, this project didn't make that list. It was number 31. We only funded 18 projects. So the city came to us and said, look, we really want to do this project. What if we put up some money? We looked at it. It probably would have been funded in one of those the next 4 years. And it was an opportunity to save some money. So talking to the director, we said, we'll take it up to council for your approval. That the city, in order to do it in 2017, which that's when they want it, they will do the design, they will administer the construction, and they'll pay half of the cost. So we thought it was a good idea. Also, it helps us fund some federal aid projects as we were moving away from that for a while.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Conwell?
Through the chair on that point, so the Middleburg Heights is doing the design and construction. What other is the county doing other than just donating the money? Are we involved in any other way?
We do get involved in the review. We have to make sure that our money is spent on items that are eligible for funding. So we review the plans at stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and we approve the plans. And then they bid the job and they administer the construction. The good thing about this program, we are limited to the maximum 600,000. So if the bids come in or if there's change orders that boost up the project, the city's on the hook because our agreement will say up to a maximum of 600,000.
So we can't, in these types of situations, we can't ask for SBC goals or anything like that.
No, because they're bidding it, they follow their, whatever the city ordinance is, yeah. No, we do not require that, yeah.
So we don't do many of those.
The 50-50 projects are usually done for streets that don't carry a lot of traffic. You know, that's how we used to use it for. But this is obviously a little bit different because they just wanted to move it up.
Okay, any questions to my right? No questions? Okay, so then, this is for 2017, so this should have 3 readings.
Absolutely, yes.
So I move that this goes to full council on our second reading. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, 138.
Resolution number 2015-0138, a resolution declaring that public convenience and welfare requires emergency repair of Mastic Road Culvert Number 4A in the city of Fairview Park. Total estimated project cost, $500,000. Finding that special assessments will neither be levied nor collected to pay for any part of the county's cost of said improvement, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jamal Hassani with Public Works. This is a culvert that is under 10 feet. which the county does not inspect, does not maintain. However, we do help cities when they come to us. And if you recall, this was announced in the paper that the road was closed. I'll let this picture speaks on the condition. The head wall of the culvert is actually got washed away, and they had to close the road. And the city came to us, and we said, okay, we could help under our culvert program for under 10. We have an 80-20 program where the county would assist in 80% and the municipality will pay 20%. And again, this would be administered by the city, design and construction.
Okay, discussion? Mr. Greenspan?
Great, thank you. First of all, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Clerk would so note that. I want to thank Public Works for this. With this washed out, it's been almost a month, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this was during some of the torrential storms we had and the road washed out. And the city's has had nothing but great things to say about the cooperation from the county. So I want to pass that along from the mayor, from the mayor's office in Fairview Park. Question though, first of all, I'd like this, Mr. Chair, for second reading suspension since this road is washed out. But in an emergency, what's our protocol in an emergency situation where, I mean, this road is physically closed. I mean, there are detours you can't, because it's basically, if you're not familiar with it, to the south of this is the cliff falling into the metro parks. Mm-hmm. So there's no way around this road other than the detour through the neighborhood. Do we have a protocol in a situation like this that would necessitate maybe a first reading suspension or maybe a border control issue? This is a fairly heavily trafficked road, and I'm sure that this is not the first time this has come up, and I know it won't be the last time. Do you guys have a protocol where you'd say, look, we got to get this done immediately, we need first reading suspension, or we need to go through border control, so it doesn't have to wait a month or 6 weeks from the
to get it
time of the
faster.
incident?
In the past, we've actually, depending on the situation, we could sometimes use our own forces to go out and do some of the repair. Roadways, the closure of roadways usually follows the protocol of the city.
Right.
For culverts and bridges, we get involved because, some of them are ours. Under the commissioners, do you remember, Stan, if we had?
No, we don't really have our processes and timeframes. What we do, I don't remember many of these washouts happening. Mm-hmm. When we worked with the city, they're going to do this as a design build. They're presently working with a contractor. Mm-hmm. The cities can process stuff sometimes a lot faster, our procurement processes and everything. I'm not saying that it's not appropriate, but sometimes the cities can declare, they're set up for this. It's their mandated responsibility for the road, so they have different rules they can follow. So when this came up, normally on a culvert like this would be the lead would design it, build it. But because of the nature, we said, you do it, we'll get this processed. They still have some time, they can go forward. That's why we were thinking about maybe a first reading suspension, but they're still working out some of the issues, this coordination with Metro Parks also on the hillside. So we felt that this time frame would be okay. They'll get it open. So
And don't get me wrong, they didn't ask. They didn't call me and say,
Right.
hey, we need this, and they didn't ask you. But I'm just saying,
yeah,
this issue aside, when you've got a county road that's literally shut down,
yeah.
And repairs need to happen, I'm just curious if you have an internal protocol that would say, okay, these conditions have been met, and we must expedite the process.
Like as Jamal said, if we could do it with our forces, or we will turn it over to them and say, we'll become a financial partner, you guys can mobilize maybe a little bit quicker than us, is
Yeah.
basically how we've done it.
The only other one I could remember is actually Harvard Road, where we used we have like a general contractor that we use in our sanitary division, that we use that contractor to go out and do $100,000 worth of repair pretty quickly in a couple of days while we reimburse the sanitary.
Because
Yep.
there could be a number of issues.
Sure.
It could be a water main break that is so significant that it's shut down the entire road. It could be a gas main break. It could be a whole host of issues. My question is really relating to emergency protocol for an expedited process.
To follow up on what Jamal said, under sanitary, we do have these contractors we have contractors on retainer where we bid out certain items and we can get them out there for water line or sewer repairs if it's the community. We've looked in the past with roadway work and with some of the culvert work, and it doesn't happen often enough that we were afraid would tie up money with a contractor and then possibly not utilize it. So we've kind of weighed that in the past, and we figured that these options here with the cities are probably a little bit maybe more cost efficient or cost effective because we're not tying up our money for a project, but we try to keep a little bit there in case something happens, we can fund it, so.
Okay. And just to be, this 500,000 is our cost or total cost of the project?
This is
That's total,
the total cost of the project. We're paying 80%, so it's
400.
400 to the county, 100, okay. Great, thank you.
sure.
This brings up a good point. And I'm just wondering if this should be a council action to have some emergency protocol for public works? Or is it a departmental policy? What's the proper? Mr. Miller?
We already have an emergency protocol in the contracting and procurement ordinance. We're in a wide variety of emergencies. The executive can essentially suspend the contracting process and get work done.
Okay.
It's never been used so far.
That's
Okay, so we have it. That's good. Okay, any further questions? It needs to be done.
Yes.
We've had a request for a
Mr.
second
Chairman.
reading. Mr. Miller?
I'm just wondering what how long we anticipate the work would take and when is our estimate as to when it could get done?
And that's, that's a very good question. Since the city is leading that and they're using their city engineer with design build, I believe a contractor has already been out there evaluating. I don't have a date, but I will call once we are done here, the city, and see what their schedule and follow up with an email.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd also like my name added. It's closer to my house than Dave's house, even though it's a distance.
Everybody's close to Parma, so we're all.
Yeah, it's adjoining Parma, so. Okay, great. I move that we send this to the full council under second reading suspension. Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes our scheduled business. Any miscellaneous or public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in for public comment.
Okay, that concludes our business, so this meeting stands adjourned.